Evening, gentlemen. It is I, your boy here, Stratophobia. So, I'm currently in the middle of editing a new game review, and in the meantime, I decided I'd spice up the channel with some non-gaming related content. I mean, the Grover Cleveland vid was an algorithmic banger, so maybe YouTube has finally gotten over its phase of sectioning off each YouTube channel into a specific niche and suppressing everything outside that topic into the fucking rounds. With that in mind, today I'm just gonna rant a bit about a topic that I actually have a little insight on. The female Goonslop epidemic. If you're not aware, there's an ongoing discourse on social media about women, and I'm talking like full grown-ass adult women in their late 20s and 30s, reading very sexually explicit, degenerate books in public with little to no shame. I've seen people, especially guys and just women that don't read that kind of thing, express a mixture of confusion and bewilderment as to why this is happening. What's the mentality that will drive a bunch of women to be out here not just consuming this kind of content, but doing so in such an open, shameless way? I mean, if you're a guy on the internet, chances are you've definitely consumed porn, but that's typically an activity that you do in private and don't really share insight about with others. Now, personally, I have not actually seen this phenomenon in real life myself. Maybe it's because I'm a Westoid European, maybe this phenomenon is currently isolated to the cum zone, I don't know. However, what I will say is that my life circumstances have made me especially suited as a man to discuss this topic, and hopefully bring attention to other guys out there that just haven't had experience with it. You see, a little fun fact about me. As an early Gen Z guy, I first became an internet person circa 2013, 2014 through the fanfiction space. I grew up on Cartoon Network broadcasts of some absolute bangers like Early Adventure Time, Chowder, Foster's Home, Billy and Mandy. I realized that the time period of these shows don't really match up, but that's just the shit that was on broadcast for me at the time. And you know, as a small-time kid with a lot of free time on my hands, I was just really into these shows, the characters, their worlds, and I wanted more than the strict scheduled programming could give me. It was because of this that I first discovered and became an avid user of Archive of Our Own. If you're not aware, Archive of Our Own, aka AO3, is an online repository for fanfiction works. Some of the content is reposts from other fanfiction websites, some of it is original content native to AO3. The real appeal of this site is that the filter tag searches are extremely customizable. When you upload a work to AO3, you can tag it with a near infinity of popular, widely used tags, and you can even just make up whatever bullshit you want and put it in a tag that'll show up in tag search. It's an extremely well-tailored user experience where you can search for the tags you want, blacklist whatever you don't want to see, search for whatever combination of characters, topics, settings, scenarios, and whatever else you want with relative ease and find exactly the kind of content you want. It's a far cry from the YouTube method of content distribution, where you're usually encouraged to consume whatever algorithmic slop your account metrics suggest you want to see. You know, much like how you probably came to click on this video. Unless this video gets popular enough to be shared through Discord links and discussions about the topic, in which case, thanks man, I appreciate someone found my ramblings compelling enough to do that. Anyhow, all of this to say that while everyone is out here discussing the female Goonslop epidemic in Anno Domini 2025, I was having this exact discussion down to the letter like 8 years ago. 2014 isn't that long ago in internet history, and I'm sure there's people much older than me that have all the experience that I have and more. But I do think that among my specific generation, I'm the closest there is to a veteran of the female Goonslop wars. You see, an ongoing issue with AO3 is differentiating the non-explicit from the explicit content. Some people want to scroll on their mouse with one hand and pleasure themselves with the other, while others just want to read something cool involving characters that they like. And over the years, on multiple separate occasions, I've had discussions with a multitude of fellow AO3 users on this ongoing trend with the more explicit and extreme sexual content, in that it's seemingly all written and consumed by teenage girls. AO3 and other fanfiction spaces were some of the few online spaces that always had a predominantly female user base, and that very much reflected in the kind of content that you saw. No matter what kind of fandom or specific character you were searching for, you would find absolutely no shortage of fan fictions of said characters being shipped with a million other characters, having threesomes, having orgies, having extreme BDSM, and downright violent sexual scenarios. These fics were usually one-shots, meaning a single chapter, usually quite short, maybe 1,000 to 10,000 words, and this kind of content was always very much polarizing to the user base. If the filter tag search did its job and the only people seeing these works were people looking for them, then everything was fine, but a quick glance at random comment sections would usually reveal that if the work breached containment and somehow ended up on the screen of somebody not interested in that kind of content, then all hell would break loose. So basically, I've been accustomed to women and girls consuming absolute fucking degeneracy for many years now. I can't help but think that a lot of guys' reaction to the female Goonslop thing is born out of a certain naivety towards women. It's still a prevalent enough attitude that guys are just innately dirtier in their thinking than women, which I can assure you, that's generally not the case. Especially when we're talking about this early puberty and early adulthood period where people, both men and women, are still playing with their sense of identity and exploring their sexuality. This is the kind of thing that if you, as a man, have not experienced, there's little I can say to convince you, but rest assured, as someone who's had years of interactions in female-dominated online spaces, it's very much the case that women in their developmental period are just as prone to degenerate, disgusting sexual content as boys are. Now, I'm not suggesting the reaction is born completely out of ignorance, far from it. Even if guys were aware that female gooners were just as prevalent, I think a lot of the bewilderment is also born of the genuinely insane rationalization that I've seen some women who consume this kind of content use. Usually when you make the comparison to the porn that guys consume. They will unironically tell you that because this is written word content, it is intellectually stimulating and in no way comparable to the filth that men watch on their computers. And to this I have to say, bitch, I see what you read. I am generally of the opinion that, yes, the written word is a superior art form when it comes to conveying a level of depth that a visual medium can't, at least not in the same way. However, given the general quality of the words that are being consumed here, I can assure you that, no, the fact that you're flicking it to written content in no way makes this more stimulating to your intellectual faculties than if you were just watching normal porn. And frankly, I'm amazed that anyone would have the audacity to make this argument, being fucking elitist about the grade of degenerate sexual content you consume. I'm mind-boggled by the sheer gall of such a thing. You are not erudite, you are not expanding your philosophical horizons, you are a gooner, stop fucking lying to yourself. So now we're at an impasse here. Not because this topic is all that serious by itself, but because it raises an obvious question. If these two mediums, the visual porn and the written Goonslop, are equally degenerate, which, yes, they are, then why is it that men flock to one kind and women to the other? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm an internet person as much as anyone watching this video probably is. I've seen no shortage of men on the internet that are utterly lost to their sexual urges. But no matter how bad it gets, no matter how much porn they consume, no matter how much they lose their lives to this addiction, I've yet to see them ever be involved in Goonslop fanfiction spaces in the way that women might be. It's not just a stereotype. Writing and reading sexually explicit fanfiction is very much a female thing. But why is that? Well, my own 2 cents on the matter are rather simple, and I'll keep it brief. I don't think it's unfair to say that in almost every single expression of life, men never consider their own feelings as important to much of anything. A stereotypically toxic male attitude is that you just tough out whatever bullshit you're feeling at the moment. You're stoic and untouchable, and just don't voice what's on your mind. Regardless of whether you believe this attitude is innate or socially constructed, it very much remains the case that this is how men generally behave and think. Women, on the other hand, have no problem considering their feelings and experiences as central to everything they do. And my opinion is that despite how definitionally intimate sex is supposed to be, even in sexual content, this attitude remains unchanged. Men seem to watch porn for the utilitarian purpose of see hot girl, get off, that's it. The hardcore coomers might get super into one specific model, but for the more casual porn consumer, Men don't usually treat porn as a genuine artistic medium through which they can explore their own psyche. It's just there to relieve their sexual frustrations, and hopefully it's out of your fucking screen and buried in the browser history before the post-net clarity sets in. For women, it's very much the opposite. While being elitist about the fanfiction Goonslop is really fucking dumb, there is a degree of truth to the fact that by reading instead of watching porn, you are in a much more personal, intimate, and introspective position. And I have to assume, both from the way these women act defensively about their fanfiction fantasies and the way that shit's written, that no matter how low quality and garbage this content is, its readers do actually believe that there is genuine artistic merit to it. And I think the reason is that the written word allows female writers and readers to center their own experience in a way that it's much harder to replicate with visual porn, which is usually utilitarian, thin on plot, and made to be discarded as soon as you're done jerking it. No guy that watches that shit, no matter how dedicated they are to it, genuinely sees it as a real form of artistic expression. And that's because it's specifically made so that its audience is as emotionally detached as possible from the experience. It's not the kind of shit you're ever going to be thinking about outside of consuming it. So these are my thoughts on the female Goonslop epidemic. I think what we're seeing is just an innate aspect of how the two sexes express their sexuality, resurfacing in a new and really dumb way. Now, with all that said, I want to get across that if you are a woman who reads this kind of garbage in public, without shame, I will judge you harshly for it. This is not a no judging zone. Here we judge hard and with extreme prejudice. That being said, I get it. I really get it. And I hope I expressed that to your satisfaction in this video. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Game review content coming soon, and have a wonderful day.